Hey guys, welcome back. So a couple months ago, I made a video where I talked about the accessories you need to make your iPad Pro as productive as possible. You can actually see that by clicking up here. So in that time, Apple has actually released the newly updated iPad mini, which to the surprise of many, now has a USB-C port, which allows you to use a lot of the same accessories that you can use with your iPad Pro. I personally love the Mini, and I've made several videos about it, one of which you can also see by clicking up here. And the great thing is, like I said before, you can now share the accessories with the iPad Pro. So a lot of those same accessories I could use with my Pro, I can now use with my Mini, but I've also come across some new accessories since I made that video that I wanted to share with you guys. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of those accessories that I found to make not only your iPad Pro more productive, but your iPad Mini as well. Let's take a look. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we talk about all things tech, particularly those smaller tech items to help increase your productivity, streamline your workflow, and help you get more done. So the first accessory deals with something that was extremely popular on the old MacBooks. I'm talking about the MagSafe connector. They recently brought that back this week with the new MacBook Pros that have been announced. But it's something that for people who, like me, bought the MacBook Pros in the last few years, really miss having that magnetic connector, so in case you accidentally walk into your cable, your MacBook Pro won't go flying across the room. There are companies that have released cables with magnetic connectors on them in the last few years. I personally bought this one by Griffin, and basically the way it works is it's got a USB-C connector on both ends, and it's got this little magnetic thing that comes off, so you sort of have that MagSafe functionality built into this cable. With this cable, more often than not, I would end up plugging it into my iPad or my MacBook, and it would just become disconnected on its own because the magnets in it were so weak. So I ended up being kind of frustrated with this cable and not using it so much. So I was recently sent this little device by a company called Yibo85, and I have to say, so far I really like it. The box claims that this is a magnetic USB-C adapter which can handle data transfer up to 10 gigabytes, is USB 3.1 compatible, can transfer 4K video over 60 Hertz, and can handle power delivery up to 100 watts. So the way this thing works is it's basically got two parts to it. There's the one part that you plug into your device, whether it's your iPad, your MacBook, your Nintendo Switch, and then the other part of it gets plugged into your USB-C cable. So basically it comes apart like this. It's got really strong magnets in it. It's very well constructed, and it's even got an indicator light on the end to let you know that it's working. So basically, once you have this plugged into your device, you won't have to theoretically worry about tripping over your cable, sending your device flying across the room. I have tested it in different situations. I love the fact that you can orient it either up or down depending on, your working conditions. I have used it for data transfer and also for power delivery, and it works great in both of those situations. Have not been able to test it for the 4K video yet because the monitor I have doesn't allow a USB-C connection, but this is a nice device to have in any tech gear setup. It's a little under $20 on Amazon, and like I said, it's very well constructed, doesn't feel cheap or flimsy, and this is definitely going to go in my iPad mini EDC carry, which you can see by clicking the video up here. So if you did watch my iPad mini EDC video, you'll remember that I used a fold-up keyboard from a company called iClever that fit nicely into my bag and had a trackpad built into it. Don't get me wrong, that keyboard was nice to have, but I did find after using it for a little while that it was a bit cramped for my kind of large hands, and the trackpad was kind of so-so in real-world situations. So I decided to try one of iClever's other keyboards, and I've actually been really surprised with this one. So this is the iClever IC BK05, and this is the closest thing I found to a full-size portable folding keyboard that you can get. The great thing about this keyboard is, like I said, it's still full-size. It's almost exactly the same size as my Touch ID keyboard that I currently use for my docked MacBook Pro. It has a backlit keyboard with 3 different colors on it that you can change the brightness on. It will pair with up to 3 devices, and once it's paired and you open it up, it will automatically connect to your device, so there's no messing around with your Bluetooth settings every time you try to connect it. It's also got these little kind of feet underneath, so if you need to make it more stable, if you're putting it on a tabletop, it's going to work work great for that. And the great thing about it is that it still fits into my Air DaySling 2 pack that I use for my iPad mini EDC. This next item is something that I wanted to include in my last iPad video, but I just didn't have enough room, so I wanted to make sure to put it in this video. And I'm talking about the Sandisk Extreme USB-C 1TB hard drive. So anytime you're working with something like the iPad Pro or the iPad mini, you're gonna want an external device to handle any storage that you can't fit on your iPad. And if you're like me and you opted for the 256GB version on your devices, that might come in handy for a small amount of video or photos, but it fills up really quickly. So having something like the Sandisk is essential. Now, the Sandisk and also the Samsung are, I would say, probably the two most popular ones, and I have one of each, but I really like this Sandisk one because number one, it's a very small form factor. It's built very ruggedly. It's got some kind of plastic, kind of rubberized material on the outside, so you can really throw this into a bag and not worry about jostling it around and just kind of throwing it everywhere. I believe it's waterproof, although I don't know if that means it can just get water splashed on it or whether it can actually be submerged in water. Maybe some of you guys out there know that. It's got this cool little cutout in it, so you can put like a carabiner or a key ring in it, and even like, you know, just kind of put it on your keychain if you didn't mind something this big kind of dangling off of there. I know there's actually a faster one available, and I didn't opt for that one because it's a bit more expensive. This one runs around $120 or so, but for my needs it works great. I have fast transfer speeds. I can easily take something from my MacBook, put it on this, take it with me, and then load it up onto my iPad on the go. So it works great, and it's so small that I don't even really notice it in my bag. The only thing I wish that they would have included with this is a longer cable, as the one that they do include is pretty small, and if you're trying to work with this, it's kind of hanging off your device. Although I guess you probably could put some Velcro on it and just Velcro it to the back of your iPad case or whatever, but a longer cable would be kind of nice. If you have an iPad Pro or an iPad mini and you don't have something like the ESR case that I have, or the Magic Keyboard, or the Smart Keyboard Folio, you're gonna want a stand to hold it up on, because working with a keyboard or just kind of working with it in general is just much easier if you have a stand to work with. And of course you want something that's gonna be sturdy, that's not gonna fall over and risk your device falling on the floor. A couple of years ago, I got this cool little stand by a company called Joyroom. Kind of a weird name. But anyway, this was marketed as a Nintendo Switch stand for some reason, but it's actually got a lot of functionality for iPads. The nice thing about it is that it folds up really small and flat, so if you're throwing it into a bag, it's very easy. I've actually taken this with me on many trips. It can actually hold devices in two different ways. It's got the front holder where you can basically adjust it to almost any angle you want. The back moves back and forth, and then it also moves up and down, so you can really get a number of different angles with it. And it's also got this back part, so if you've got something bigger like the iPad Pro, you don't have to risk it, you know, going off balance and falling over. So pretty much any device you have, whether it's an iPad Pro, iPad mini, iPhone 13, what have you, it's gonna fit on this stand. The other cool thing about it is you'll notice this hole in the middle, and that's intended for an Apple Watch. So you can easily fit the Apple Watch magnetic charger in here. It's even got a small cutout for the cable, and use this like on your nightstand if you're traveling. You can use this on your desk if you want to charge your Apple Watch when you're working throughout the day. It's actually a really cool little thing to add into an already great stand. And I found myself using it on many trips that I've gone on when I don't have a way to prop up my Apple Watch otherwise. So it's really cool to be able to just kind of slap it on here and charge it at night. The stand is really well constructed. It's made out of metal. Unfortunately, I just checked Amazon and it doesn't look like it's available anymore, but I did see some similar stands from other companies that were available, so I'm pretty sure you could get something like this, if not the same exact thing. The last item I'm going to talk about is something that doesn't really get mentioned too much when you're talking about iPads, but while the iPad mini and whatever iPad you're using has good Wi-Fi capabilities, sometimes you're in a situation where you need to take advantage of having an Ethernet connection. I was lucky enough that when I moved into my current house, it was pre-wired for Ethernet, so after I moved in, it was just a matter of wiring the rooms to take advantage of that. I currently have my internet with AT&T Gigabit, and so I have a super fast connection all throughout my house, and sometimes I do need to transfer large chunks of data, whether it be video or picture files, things like that, and that's where Ethernet comes in handy. So this is the Anker USB-C Ethernet adapter, and what this does is you simply hook it up to your iPad, hook an Ethernet cable up to it, and then you can take advantage of those faster speeds. So whereas with my Wi-Fi, I might be getting speeds of 200 to 300 down, if I hook this up to my iPad, all of a sudden I've got supercharged internet up to 1,000 gigabytes. And I'll tell you, when you're trying to transfer an extremely large video file and you don't have that much time to do it, this thing can be really useful. Of course, as with pretty much every Anker product, it's really well made, it's nice and compact. If you're traveling a lot and you happen to find yourself lucky enough to be in a hotel room with Ethernet, this can come in real handy, especially if you're kind of on a deadline for work and you need to just transfer some large files. So I've had this a part of my tech bag for years, and it's something that I wanted to include in this video because I know a lot of people don't realize that you can actually hook an iPad up to an Ethernet connection and take advantage of that fast speed. I do have a couple of other USB-C hubs that have Ethernet built into it, but this is kind of nice if you just need something small and simple. If you're looking to take advantage of those fast Ethernet connections, whether you are on the road or even in your house, then I would highly recommend this USB-C hub from Anker. So that's my list of accessories for this video. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Do you use any of these? Are there other things that you use that help to increase your productivity or just make your life easier with your iPads? Please post in the comments below, as I'd love to hear, and I'll even maybe make a video if I get enough products that I haven't used before. Again, I really appreciate all the new subscribers who have come on board since I made my last video. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so, as well as liking this video, as it helps me to grow the channel. I'm currently working on my first week with my Apple Watch Series 7 video, so stay tuned for that very shortly, as well as some other content that I'm currently working on. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks very much for watching.